In what has been a roller coaster start to the season for the St. Louis Dragons, we've got a tough task here at Arrowhead Field against the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 8. But before that, we've got a lot to go over. Our Week 7 bye week, along with the NFL trade deadline. So the last episode was certainly a whirlwind. We had a doubleheader against the Rams and the 49ers. And both of those games were very interesting, and I think they each could dictate how the rest of our season goes. We'll start with the game against the Rams, and LA was 0-4 going into this matchup. They benched Deshaun Watson for rookie quarterback Gavin Hennessy, and on paper, this was a game that we very clearly should have won. We were the better team for most of the game, and we had control the entire way, but we blew it at the end. And when a good team loses a game like this, it can really spiral your season. We wasted a really good performance out of Puma Whitlock because of just mental blocks at the end of the game that ultimately costed us. Our team's morale shot down like a tank after that game, and everybody's morale is no higher than 25. So that brought us into the Niners game, Monday Night Football, and this was basically our revenge tour. We went into this game with the thought that we're going to run the score early and not let the pedal off the metal. We are going to play our best, most complete game of the year. We're going to set the tone in the first few minutes on both sides of the ball and not stop. And that's exactly what we did, winning 38-6. Puma Whitlock threw 4 touchdowns, completing 71% of his passes, while Brock Purdy went 9 for 25 with 87 yards. The run game was really good. Milan Santa has played really well as of recent. Jamison Williams had the 75-yard touchdown on the very first play of the game to really set the tone for us. And our defense was phenomenal, and we did it mostly without sacks. We didn't get any sacks until the fourth quarter when we brought the backups in. And we also got no turnovers. It was just steady and consistent play on that side of the ball. The coverage was really good. The run defense was really good. I don't expect the defense to play that well consistently, especially next week on the road against Patrick Mahomes. But it sure was a very nice sign to see that. So that brings us into the bye week. We're 4-2. We comfortably lead the division, which for most of this series has been very competitive. But this year, the NFC West doesn't look too good. We've already got 4 of our division games out of the way. We played 4 division matches in a row, and we went 3-1, which in theory looks pretty good until you recognize that our one loss was to a Rams team who hasn't won a game otherwise in a game that we choked. So the focus on the bye week is going to be improving morale, because last season, once our team lost morale, the performance of the team drastically fell off, and I'm concerned that could be the case again this year. So far, that wasn't the case in Week 6, but that's only one game. That's not much of a sample size. I also want to talk about Puma Whitlock's contract. We've given him some extension offers, most recently a 7-year deal for $420 million, which he said no, but he also made it clear that it seemed like we were getting close to an agreement. Puma Whitlock has had his best season up to this point so far. He hasn't thrown an interception since Week 3, and he's had the 2 best games of his season during the 2 games in the last episode, and could be looking at another possible MVP season if he keeps it up. So we're going to look to offer him a deal in the player-friendly to very player-friendly range. Our newest offer is a 7-year deal for $64 million per season. That's $448 million total, and Puma Whitlock signs the dotted line. We have a deal. Puma Whitlock has accepted a 7-year, $448 million extension to be our franchise quarterback for a very, very long time. And I get that people have been in gripes over Puma Whitlock, but ultimately this was always going to happen. He is going to be our franchise quarterback, and our team has the best chance of winning a championship during the duration of Puma's contract with him on the roster. And sure, it's a lot of money. He's going to be making $67 million next season. He'll be making up to $80 million in 2033 before the annual value decreases towards the end. Keep in mind, we can always restructure deals, including his, which we definitely will. We're running out of cap space quickly with a lot of guys we're going to have to pay. But we had to extend Puma. We had to extend Simeon Bonnet in the last offseason. We get those done. And Puma Whitlock's going to be sticking around for quite a while, and I'm excited that we don't have to worry about the contract anymore with him as he signs an NFL record for $64 million annually. So technically, he has signed the richest contract in the history of the National Football League, and amongst the major American sports, the second highest annual value for a player in a contract ever, with the extension of Shohei Ohtani's 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers. Here's our Week 7 scores. Obviously, we did not play. As for the players of the week, Brock Purdy, that's ironic, Josh Allen, Marcus Jackson, and Kenneth Murray, bringing us into Week 8, coming off the bye week. And even though we didn't play last week, it still feels like a success, being that we have officially extended Puma Whitlock. Well, things are not going to get much easier here as we get to head on the road, one of the most hostile home field environments in the NFL, and of course, the best quarterback in the National Football League in Patrick Mahomes. But before we get to that, it's time for the NFL trade deadline, and we're going to have to navigate through the deadline a little bit differently now that we have Puma Whitlock and Simeon Bonnet set to make a combined total of over $110 million next season. That's close to 50% of the team's cap. So because of that, we're going to have to be stingy with who we acquire. We have a lot of guys who we have to pay, and we don't have a lot of money to do it, and I don't want to add another big contract to the mix because we've got 6 or 7 starters here. Obviously, Arturo Modelo is going to be of the utmost importance. Assuming he's re-signed, we're barely going to have any money to spend on the rest of the guys. And again, we'll be able to restructure deals, but that alone isn't going to be enough. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to make a move. We're 4-2. We're in first place in the division, and we can contend for a Super Bowl. I would like to add to the pass rush because other than Simeon Bonnet and Malachi Weston, we really haven't had any consistent pass rush. I think a lot of people might argue to add to the secondary. Our coverage has been inconsistent this year. We haven't had a ton of playmakers in terms of turnovers. But I think it starts up front, and adding another big-time pass rusher is going to be our best move. And ideally, someone who's on the last year of their contract, so we don't have to worry about paying them next year, and somebody who's going to be cheap to trade for. There are a handful of pretty solid options here. We can't necessarily swing for the fences because most of those guys are making big money or they're going to cost a lot of money. But there are a few good choices for us. My top option was Lucas Corbin with the New York Jets, a former high draft pick out of Oklahoma. It doesn't seem like the Jets are going to re-sign him, but unfortunately, their demands in the trade finder seem to be way too big for my liking. Eric Abodage with Detroit, the first offers for Joe Mixon, so already this seems like it's going to be a lot more reasonable. I'm not going to do that trade because I don't see how it benefits Detroit, but it seems like his value is a lot smaller. I tried it with everybody else. Here's Zach Allen, a solid veteran in Baltimore. There's no offers for Danielle Hunter or Zaire Diaz-Holloway, and that's also the same with Devontae Clemens with the Bills. So of the 6 players I looked at, only 3 of them we can even offer for. And again, I think of the group, Eric Abodage is probably the way to go. Now, it is worth noting that Abodage is not on an expiring contract. He's got another year left after this. But I don't mind paying him next year because he's cheap. He's on a rookie contract. He played quite well last year. Really good run defender, solid pass rusher. Just hasn't been able to see the field this year because the Lions' defensive line is quite deep. We've got a number of our defensive linemen who are free agents, including Malachi Weston, DJ Orleans, Trajan Blyshenden, and Devontae Wyatt. We're not going to be able to pay all those guys, so having a guy like Abodage as insurance for next season is going to be very useful. It seems like his price is going to be a 4th-round pick plus, which is fine, but I did want to take a look at the trade block before making a deal officially for him, and there were a few guys who really caught my eye. Ironically, Dewan Overton's here, but he is injured and was just recently extended by the Patriots, so we won't be getting him back. But Goomba Shalen, the former first-rounder with the Denver Broncos, I think is a guy who could be a candidate for us, along with Finnegan Howell-Coleman with the Eagles, who hasn't played a ton since his rookie year, where he had a multi-sack game against us. Sir Broderick Hillingham, the 4th in Jacksonville, would also be kind of funny. His awareness and play rec have gone up a little bit, but his idiocy has kept him off the field despite being looked at as a generational defensive prospect a few years back. Of this group, I think Finnegan Howell-Coleman makes the most sense. It seems like a trade package for him won't cost too much, so we're going to start by offering our 4th-round pick. Keep in mind, Finnegan is expiring, which is why the Eagles are so willing to deal him. We're going to add a future 5th and get a future 6th back. And ultimately, that's what it's going to take to acquire Finnegan Howell Coleman. We've added another piece up front to the defensive line. Howell Coleman is a guy who has shown flashes for the Eagles. And again, we saw it firsthand all the way back in Season 3 when he had multiple sacks against us as a rookie. But since then, he's had trouble consistently staying on the field for the Eagles. He's on the last year of his deal. And with them already paying Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, there's really no need for him. He does have superstar development, though, which means his ceiling could be quite high despite already being 26 years old. He will be replacing Kyle Juszczyk on the roster. We've had Juszczyk for 6 weeks. I've found no use for him, so we're going to move on. Let's now take a look at some trades around the rest of the NFL, and we'll start in San Francisco. The 49ers are finally fire sailing it. They've waited way too long to do this, but now they're going to sell off some pieces. Christian McCaffrey goes to the Washington Commanders for a 4th-round pick, while George Kittle will go to the Colts for a 5th. CMC is 32, Kittle is 34. These guys are old, they're expiring, and they've regressed a lot. Elgton Jenkins is going to the Buccaneers, who have been one of the biggest surprises in the league this year for a 4th-round pick. Jamel Dean is also going to the Bucs, so Tampa Bay is really being aggressive this year at the trade deadline, 1 year removed from being one of the worst teams in the NFL, as Jamel Dean returns to Tampa, where he started his NFL career. Jordan Brooks, a mainstay in the Seattle defense, is headed to the Las Vegas Raiders, so both the Niners and the Seahawks in our division are selling. Hassan Reddick goes from the Titans to the New England Patriots, so New England adds another pass rusher to bolster their unit. Jalen Johnson is on the move to the Pittsburgh Steelers, joining forces with Joey Porter Jr. and Kendall Fuller in what looks like one of the better corner trios in the NFL. Justin Simmons, the longtime Denver Bronco, is headed to the Cleveland Browns for a 5th-round pick. The Broncos only have 1 win, so they're going to be fire sailing it as well, trading another veteran stalwart in the 32-year-old receiver Courtland Sutton, who is on the move to the New York Giants, who have been one of the bigger pleasant surprises this year, adding another weapon for their young quarterback, Stanley Cubbage Jr. So those are the moves around the NFL here in the trade deadline, with our St. Louis Dragons adding a piece up front with Finnegan Howell Coleman, who's going to give us another guy who can go after the passer. Hopefully he can be solid in the run game as well. And if it doesn't work out, he's expiring. It's not a big deal. So now with that, everybody is ready for the second half of the season. And for us, that starts with a big matchup here on the road at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, as we talked about at the beginning of the year, our schedule is brutal this season. And so far, so good. We're 4-2 through the first patch with Dallas and Carolina, 2 of the best teams in the NFC, followed by our 4 consecutive divisional games. But it doesn't get any easier. We have Mahomes on the road. Then we have Josh Allen on the road. The Lions have been heavily disappointing. Our first home game since week 3, might I add. But then after that, we have New England, who is super talented. The Falcons made the Super Bowl last year. The Dolphins won the Super Bowl last year. And the Buccaneers, who were supposed to be the easy game on the schedule, are now one of the harder ones, with them having a resurgence season with former Dragon receivers Griffin Weaver and Tykeem Keon. But obviously, we've got to take it 1 week at a time. Our focus right now is on the Kansas City Chiefs, and this team is absolutely loaded. Obviously, everything starts and ends with the 32-year-old signal caller Patrick Mahomes, who is still really damn good. Through his first 6 games this year, he has thrown the same amount of interceptions as you and I. 0. He's completed 76% of his passes, which has been a rough estimate of what he has averaged completion-wise over the past few seasons. He's won multiple MVPs, obviously, multiple championships. He is the man. His contract is almost up, though, that big deal that he signed a number of years ago, which at the time made him the highest paid player in NFL history, but obviously, as we know, that's no longer the case. He's got plenty of skill position players with Isaiah Pacheco, well-known non-criminal Rashee Rice, who has become one of the best receivers in the NFL, and the Travis Kelce replacement, Kyle Pitts. Their offensive line is really good, and their defense is no slouch, led by Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie, Marshawn Lattimore. They've still got Chris Jones, and they've got some solid younger players such as Donovan McCullers and Elijah Wan Imbasa. Should be a good game here for our St. Louis Dragons, who look to turn the page in a way, because the last time we played at Arrowhead was towards the end of season number 4. And of course, that was the game where Puma Whitlock suffered the big injury, which held him out of the playoffs. And that was the season that we had our best chance to win the Super Bowl, being that Puma Whitlock probably would have won the MVP had he stayed healthy. And of course, we were the number 1 overall seed, making it to the NFC Championship game. But even with a playoff win from Chance Matsumolo, it was the Puma injury that kind of ended our season. And we have not made it back to Arrowhead since then. So I feel like it's kind of ironic that we return right as Puma Whitlock signs his big 7-year, $446 million extension. I don't remember the number. I just know it's really big. So the Chiefs are starting with possession. Isaiah Pacheco on the first play of the game gets lit up by Saluni. And Pacheco is hurt immediately. Not good news here for Kansas City. Their star running back will be taken out of the game. So it'll be Macaulay Ibrahim and the rookie, Patalomayo Malawalu Jr., who operate out of the backfield the rest of the way. Here's Malawalu with the first down, getting 11. Of course, we know his dad quite well, the former Georgia running back, former college football playoff most valuable player in the NCAA Next Up series from last year. At the 37, Mahomes under pressure, he's sacked. Finally, DJ Orleans gets his first sack of the year. I've been waiting for him to make the play because I feel like Orleans has been really solid this year as a pass rusher, getting consistent pressure in the backfield. He just hasn't finished a sack until now. 3rd and 14, Mahomes under more pressure from Orleans, and he nearly got his second sack of the year before Mahomes throws it away, and the defense ultimately holds up with the stop. The rookie out of BYU, Jalen Mallard, is back deep to return this one from around the 20. And Mallard up the middle, breaks a tackle, loses the ball, it's a fumble, and it's picked up by the Chiefs. David Long with the big hit on special teams, forcing the fumble, and Kansas City's going to get great starting field position with the special teams turnover. Macaulay Ibrahim, the running back formerly of the University of Virginia, gets around 14. 3rd and 9 now. Mahomes looks short on the screen. Ibrahim again gets by Ryan Nada and nearly gets the first down before being tackled out of bounds. A big play by Cam Lucifer, who's continued to play better after his very poor start to the year. The Chiefs are going to kick the field goal here on 4th and inches. Andy, man, where's the aggression? Harrison Butker makes it nonetheless, and it's 3-0. And we'll finally get a look at the 446, 448, whatever the number is. We'll get a look at the rich man, Puma Whitlock, for his first possession after the contract extension. And we'll see, hopefully he has that same fire and edge despite signing for all that money. He hands it off from Milan Santa with a juke move, and he gets around 12. I've been high on Santa's praises this year. He's taken a real leap in his second season, and he's already on the board with a first down. 3rd and 2 up the middle. It is broken up. It looked like Jamison Williams was the intended target. Puma's first drive after his payday results in a punt, and Kansas City has it. 3rd and 4. Short throw is caught by Rashee Rice for the first down. Hide your cameras. Hide your photographers, because Rashee Rice is looking to assault you. Demore Diggins wanted to play the ball rather than play the receiver, which in hindsight is kind of stupid considering it was 3rd down. Up the middle, Rice again brings it to the 41-yard line. Rashee Rice was going awfully fast on that play. Wouldn't be the first time for him. Vroom, vroom. 3rd and 5 from the 36. Short throw for Ibrahim is broken up. Cam Lucifer with the hit. And on 4th down from the 36, now the Chiefs are going to go for it. I don't really get their 4th down decision-making at all, but they're going to go for it nonetheless. Mahomes up the middle, has Rice open for the first down. After losing 3 reps on this possession in the slot, Demore Diggins is going to switch to the outside, and Jeff Okudah is going to operate the slot, covering Rashee Rice for the rest of the way. 2nd and 10, Mahomes looks to throw, and he's picked off! Penultimo Barahona with the interception. Can't keep his feet in bounds, but he gets the turnover for St. Louis. That's the first interception that Mahomes has thrown all season, and just the 2nd defensive turnover from the Dragons all year. Their first defensive takeaway since all the way back in week 1. It's been nearly 2 months since we've gotten a turnover on defense. And of course it's against Patrick Mahomes, because why not? 3rd and 23 from the 6. Arturo Modelo with the first down at the 32. The Dragons were backed up all the way in safety territory after an intentional grounding call on Puma Whitlock. But it doesn't matter as he gets the big play to his number one receiver, Modelo. Final play of the quarter, 3rd and inches. It looks like there's some miscommunication at the line. Puma tries to run for the first down, but he is stopped by Trent McDuffie. And the Dragons will have a 4th and inches from their own 42 to start the second quarter as Kansas City leads at 3-0 in what has been surprisingly a defensive battle. Interestingly, St. Louis will go for it here on 4th down despite being in their own territory. And it is literally 4th and an inch or two, which in my humble opinion is a lot. But Puma Whitlock goes for the QB sneak. He gets around 2 yards. And the gutsy 4th down decision pays off. The Dragons will keep their drive going. 2nd and 8, short throw hauled in by Amarion Cephas for the first down. He's hit hard quickly, but brings it to the 43. 3rd and 3 now from around the 36. Puma looks to throw it. Clean pocket. Now under a little bit of distress, and he is sacked by Elijah Mbassa for a loss of 9. The former Eagle edge rusher makes the play. And after all that, the Dragons are going to punt the ball in enemy territory from the 44. And that proves to be a good decision. What a punt by Presley Harvin. Downs the Chiefs at the 4. So Mahomes and company will not start with good field position. They're just going to try to run the ball, get out of safety range, as Ibrahim loses 3. Jabril Fofana and Simeon Bonnet both there to bring him down at the 1, as the left tackle DeMarco Zuberi is hurt on the play. 2nd and 13 now. Really got to watch out for the safety. Ibrahim breaks the tackle from Wyatt and just barely stays out of the end zone. Nearly a safety for Wyatt, as the Chiefs are around a foot away from being in their own end zone. 3rd down, they hand it off to the fullback. A little trickery. Pat Ricard gets 2. He's quickly wrapped up by Barahona, but more importantly, the Chiefs avoid the safety. But the Dragons will start with great field position. From the 26, Puma on the run, connects with Modelo, who brings it to the 4. Great throw under pressure by Puma Whitlock, and a nice snag by Modelo, who of course is looking for a contract extension himself. 3rd and goal from the 3. Quick throw, caught by Modelo for the score. It's Modelo time. Arturo Modelo with the touchdown. The Chiefs had the stack box, so the Dragons go for the pass up the middle. Nobody's covering the middle of the end zone, leaving Modelo wide open. And St. Louis is finally on the board. It's now 7-3. Chiefs back with it. Here's Patrick Mahomes. Rolls out to his right. He connects with Rashee Rice, who gets the first down to the 49-yard line. Rice with some words. If I was one of the defensive players, I would not want to mess with him. 2nd and 10, up the middle. What a catch to the 17. That is Octavian Wilson, who comes down with it, the shorter slot receiver. Following play for Kansas City in the red zone, looking to get the lead back. Mahomes, his pass is caught by the all-pro tight end Kyle Pitts, who gets it to the 6. The Chiefs really are inching closer and closer, and they're chewing clock. They don't want the Dragons to have much time with the ball. Mahomes on 1st and goal, looks for the back of the end zone. He's got his man, Octavian Wilson, for the touchdown, and the Chiefs are back ahead. It's 10-7. St. Louis has 40 seconds and 2 timeouts from the 30. 2nd and 3. Puma under pressure goes downfield, and it's just barely overthrown for Mallard, who did have a step on the cornerback that could have gone for a touchdown. 3rd and 3. Short pass is caught by Arturo Modelo. Weaves his way out of bounds. That'll stop the clock. And St. Louis is able to hold on to their 2 timeouts. Following play now, 2nd and 10 from the 40. St. Louis isn't moving too quickly, although they are preserving clock. Here's Puma Whitlock with a block from J-Mo and Modelo. Huge run for Puma. He's out of bounds at the 33. Clock stops, and the Dragons are in field goal range. Down to 9 seconds now and 1 timeout. 3rd and inches from the 23. Puma's going to look short for Isaiah Likely. He wants to get out of bounds, but it's not going to happen. He is stopped at the 10 with 3 seconds left. And what do you do here if you're the Dragons? Do you go for the big play, try to go for the lead? You're only going to have 1 chance at the end zone. Or do you go for the conservative approach, and we are ultimately going to take the points? 27-yard field goal attempt for Cameron Dicker. The kicker is good. And he will tie this one up at the halftime buzzer. 10-10. Really good game so far. I expected an offensive shootout with both of these teams. And while both offenses did start off slow, they each picked it up in the second quarter, which leads me to believe we will still have a high-scoring game. Let's take a look at our halftime report around the rest of the NFL. We'll start things off in the Big Easy. The New Orleans Saints have been a little disappointing this year, and being in a loaded NFC South, they've fallen behind because everybody else is so good. They're currently in a tight battle here with the Los Angeles Chargers, who have been one of the best teams in the AFC, as that game's tied at 10. I don't have highlights for the other games because, as you can see, well, the game glitched. So, unfortunately, you're only getting halftime highlights for one of the games today because EA is stupid. Let's move into the second half now. What do the Dragons need to do to hold on and win this game? Offensively, I like what I've seen from the ground game. I definitely want to utilize Santa a little bit more. But since this is going to be a close game, we're probably going to have to throw the ball a lot. I really want to get Puma moving in the intermediate game. We haven't really looked towards that area of the field. And then defensively, obviously, we've got to stop number 15. Mahomes really hasn't looked deep at all. He has operated through the intermediate area of the field where he's been really successful. Dragons open up with the ball. Play action on first down. It's Arturo Modelo who gets it to the 49, wrapped up by Donovan McCullough. Now it is a 2nd and 5 here for the Dragons. Handoff to Milan Santa. Gets some room to the left side with blocks. Nobody's in front of them. Milan Santa takes it to the casa. 45-yard touchdown run, and the Dragons take the lead. A huge play by Milan Santa continuing his outstanding season, and it is now 17-10. Kansas City gets it back off of the big run by Santa. Here's Mahomes on the run, fires for Octavian Wilson, who brings it to the 44-yard line. Nice play there by Wilson after the catch, and it seems like Mahomes has really shown what he can do as an improviser over these last couple of drives with some impressive throws under pressure. He's unable to get out of this one, though. On 3rd and 6, he is sacked for a loss of 14 by Simeon Bonnet. The Dragons with their 2nd sack of the game. Bonnet's first, and St. Louis gets it back. Play action for Juskins. Puma on the run, gets it back to Modelo, who's had a huge game. He gets it to the 39. Modelo's been quiet over the last couple of weeks because the division rivals seem to know how to cover him, but not these other teams. Up the middle to the 37, it's Jalen Mallard. Unfortunately, he appears to be hurt on the play, and he will go to the locker room. Certainly not ideal. Our big play threat at receiver will be done for the rest of the game. Here is Darwin Juskins on 2nd down with a big block by Modelo. Tries to bounce his way off the defender to get some extra yards, and it kind of worked as he brings it to the 18. So far, this 3rd quarter has been all St. Louis. They are firing on offense. Up the middle, Amarian Cephas, and he'll be pushed out at the 1 by Donovan McCullough, a player who we almost drafted all the way back in Season 1, but he went 1 pick before us, and we had to settle for a guy by the name of Simeon Bonnet. Here's Puma on the run, connects with Isaiah Likely for the touchdown, his 2nd of the year. And the Dragons add to their lead. It's 24-10. Got to see a sense of urgency here from the Kansas City offense with St. Louis getting off to such a great start for their offense here in the second half. Mahomes, play action on 2nd down, under pressure, on the run. Nice throw into the hands of Kyle Pitts, who does not get anything after the catch, but he will get the 1st down. Just his 2nd reception of the game. The Dragons have done a great job holding him. 3rd and 5. Open passes dropped by Macaulay Ibrahim. It has been that kind of second half for Kansas City. They'll have to punt it. Dragons get it. They've been chewing some clock over the last couple of minutes, looking for another touchdown to possibly ice the game. Here's Milan Santa with a few moves, and he will bring it to around the 38 for a gain of 12. Santa, with only 9 carries, is nearing the 100 yards mark on the day. He's been really good, even without the big 45-yard touchdown. Here's Puma on the run. He will connect with his tight end, Isaiah Likely, who's had a big game. He brings it to 23, and St. Louis is again marching down the field. I thought this second half was going to be competitive, but it has been completely one-sided. 3rd and 6. Likely wide open for his 2nd touchdown in as many drives, and the Dragons are up by 3 possessions. Great play there by Puma Whitlock. His first reads were not open, so he went through his progressions, finds Likely. It's 31-10 now. Mahomes heaves it up. It is caught by Kyle Pitts. It's now time for some of those Mahomes FU passes, because really that's the only way the Chiefs can make this a game. Mahomes up the middle, gets it to Kyle Pitts again. Pitts has been busy in this 4th quarter after a slow start to the game. Under 5 minutes to go. Kansas City's got to move awfully quick. Here's Mahomes. He will connect on the wheel route. It's Pitts again. He gets it to the 18. Chiefs are doing exactly what they need to on this drive, but they've got to keep moving fast. First and goal from the 6, under 4 to go now. Here's Mahomes under pressure, rolls out to the right, and he is sacked! Simeon Bonnet, his second of the game, and he is now in the zone. Third and goal. Mahomes under pressure, sacked again! Bonnet and Bleichenden bring him down, and now it's fourth and goal. Mahomes looking for the end zone. It is broken up by Cam Lucifer, and that should just about do it. The Dragons would chew more clock over the next 3 minutes, and this game is over. What a win here for St. Louis, 31-10, scoring the final 24 points of the game completely unanswered. This was an ultra-competitive game in the first half, tied at 10, and then flipped the page into the second half. I don't know what happened, but our offense caught fire, and our defense, only allowing 10 points against Patrick Mahomes, pat on the back. The pass rush was really solid. The coverage, which has been up and down this year, was great today. Another very strong game for the $448 million man, Puma Whitlock. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has not thrown a pick since week 3. As for Mahomes, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't Mahomes. We limited him today. Big game on the ground for Milan Santa, 14 for 112. His awesome season continues, not to take away from Darwin Juskins, who was also really good. Arturo Modelo and Isaiah Likely with big games. 8 receptions each. Both of them scored. Likely did twice. The offensive line was really solid. Kansas City's not so much. And then again, the defense, back-to-back flawless performances. 4 TFLs and 2.5 sacks for the best defensive player in football, Simeon Bonnet. And of course, our first takeaway since week 1 with the interception by Penultimo Barahona back in the first quarter. As good as this game was, and boy, we are feeling good, we've got a couple of new injuries, one for each side of the ball, and both of them are pretty significant. DJ Orleans, dislocated hip. He'll be out for 3 games, while Jalen Mallard tore his labrum, and he'll be out for 2. Mallard's only caught 9 passes, but he's averaged 25 yards a catch. Big play threat. Gonna suck not having him in the offense. As for Orleans, finally got his first sack of the year. Although, again, he's been really impactful. The numbers don't tell the full story, so that means we're going to be relying on a lot of other guys. I think, in particular, Nnamdi Sanaga is going to be the guy to watch as he gets a much increased role. Here's a look at the scores around the league in Week 8. Seattle, San Fran, and the Rams all lost. Our division really does stink. As for the players of the week, Puma Whitlock, Otto Askew, who had 130 yards from scrimmage and 5 touchdowns, including 3 on the ground. Okay. Along with Austin Moore and Josh Uche. Now that we've made it to Week 9, we can take a look at the in-season awards. Puma Whitlock is 7th for MVP. That shocks me. I thought he would have been higher, and I guess statistically these quarterbacks have been kind of even with him, but still, nonetheless, Puma Whitlock has had an MVP-level season thus far. He's currently 4th in Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC, while Modelo is in 7th. Of course, Simeon Bonnet is the favorite for DPOY, with Aaron Donald right behind him. Our only rookie up for an award right now is Jalen Mallard. He's 9th for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Puma Whitlock is 1st for Best Quarterback, which is weird because I feel like the best quarterback generally has to do with just passing numbers. And part of what makes Puma so good is his ability in the run game. So why is he so low for MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, but yet he's 1st for quarterback? That doesn't make any sense to me, but oh well. Milan Santa is 7th for Best Running Back, and as his role in the offense continues to increase, I imagine he's going to climb up. Arturo Modelo is 2nd for Best Receiver. Even though his numbers are down compared to the last 2 years, he's still been one of the best in the conference. Sharif Sully and Samandre Mack both in the top 10 for Best Offensive Lineman, and they both strongly deserve it. Samandre Mack has been the unsung hero of the team over the past couple of years, and Sharif Sully, the left tackle, has not allowed a sack this year. He has been well worth the $80 million deal we gave him in the offseason. Simeon Bonnet, of course, 1st for Best Defensive Lineman, and Cameron Dicker is 3rd for Best Kicker in the NFC. And that is where we're going to wrap things up today. Next time around, we're probably going to have a doubleheader. Week 9 against the Bills, Week 10 against the Lions. For those of you wondering why we have not had a prospect profile this year, I've been busy. I haven't had time to make the players, so I'm going to be pushing them back a little bit, and I'm probably going to do something a little bit different in regards to how we're going to showcase the prospects this season, but we will get to it at some point this year. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.